Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another You Be the Behavior Consultant. Hope everyone's doing well. And once again, we've got a new topic for you. We're going to talk about learning in sort of a group setting, and cooperative learning is another name for it, and sort of the pros and cons of that, and even looking at animal models of it. So I think it's going to be a fun topic for today. If you haven't been here with me before, I'll go ahead and give you our title for this. I'm losing my voice already. What's going on? This is You Be the Behavior Consultant, a live stream I try to do almost every Monday. I have to warn you, next Monday is our goats presentation. So we're going to be not doing a You Be the Behavior Consultant, but we're doing one of our global online animal training series presentation. And it's going to be a great one. We'll give you more info about that at the end of our live stream today. But here is how our live stream works. I have a topic for discussion, and then I've got some questions to prompt conversation because we like to be interactive here. And then we're going to explore this with a few more videos. I've got some videos for us to look at, and then we'll recap everything at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I see we got a few people listening, lurking here. Hopefully you're in there to say hello and chat a little bit as we get going. But just to keep us on time today, I'm going to go ahead and hop into our topic. So what we're going to talk about today is what it's like to learn with a group of people, and I know the title might seem kind of weird. They do call it cooperative learning in the literature, and you may think, well, have I done that before? But you probably have, and I can give you a really I don't know if I want to give you the examples. It's more fun when you guys give me the examples. So maybe I'll hold off on doing that. But some of my questions I have to prompt some of our discussions are things like what might be some features of group learning or quote cooperative learning, and sort of to give you the flip side of what's sort of the opposite of learning in a group is you might think about competition. Like the opposite might be learning under situations in which there's competition, and what drives you to learn is competition as opposed to working together towards a specific goal. And so we might think about what could be some examples in the human world, and also what might be some examples in the animal world where animals do behavior together or animals learn together. And there might be some pros and some cons to working in these types of environments. And you might want to think about that a little bit. And then you might, and Cynthia's here. Hello, yay. And we might think about if you've ever been in that situation yourself, which I'm pretty confident you have. We all have been, to be quite honest. You might think about what has made working in a group setting to learn something more successful for you, and maybe what hasn't worked for you. And Anne's here too, yay, from Denmark, yay, glad you guys are here. I kind of jumped right into it really fast, so everyone's kind of logging in now, but I really went boom right into it. So I don't know if any of this sounds familiar to you, or if it's starting now that I kind of spoke on it a little bit. I know the paragraph that I wrote to kind of describe it was short and sweet and maybe didn't get into it very much, but it's more fun to talk about it, I think. So I don't know, what do you guys think? Have you been in any situations that you may remember where you guys worked on something in a group setting, or even if you can think of an animal situation where animals work together towards a common goal, or even a goal that maybe benefits each individual, but they have to work together towards achieving that goal. Any thoughts? Any of these questions are fine to answer. As always, you don't have to go in any specific order. If anything jumps out at you, or you can go, I can relate to that. I know some kind of example of that in my personal life, or I've observed with animals. My hubby and I always do better on home projects than alone. So working together is more successful for you. And maybe you have some thoughts on why that is. What seems to make it more successful when you work together? That's kind of sort of the I think reason why people have done some investigation into group learning. What makes it work? Because it's one thing to just stick a group of people together and just go have at it. but what I think that what they've done, in at least the things that I read, is that they kind of looked into it. What makes it more successful? More ideas of the best ways to do it. Yes, that is actually one of the features that came up, is that it seems to inspire more creativity. There's generativity, if you guys remember that word, is that it actually puts us in contact with more novel stimuli that come from having more people involved. And so we get more ideas. Yeah, that is actually one of the features. Very good. Excellent. Yeah, so that is one of the things that comes from working with groups of people. I love it. Yeah. Any other thoughts from people who might want to let's see, not training related, but we've had some chimps learn how to solve enrichment puzzles once integrated into a group with that knowledge. Oh, totally. Absolutely. Yes. So modeling. Yeah, absolutely. So we can learn from other individuals that are a part of the group. And another important part of that, flip side of that, is teaching. So when we have somebody in the group who is less experienced, they can learn by watching others, and others who are more experienced in the group can become teachers, and they can teach others in the group who maybe are still learning. So that is a great example. Absolutely. Excellent. And that happens in the human world, and as you just shared, and in the animal world. So excellent. And Mary says people have different abilities, therefore might be more likely to succeed. Yeah, and I think that ties in with what Jordan said there as well. So absolutely. So there we get this support system going. Excellent. Cynthia says, I always take an experienced trail donkey with a newbie trail donkey to help the newbie get over fear of trail obstacles. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a support that can happen when we've got sort of these different levels of experience going on there. And Jordan says, I've also noticed some chimps realize what I'm trying to shape with my trainers, and then will try to execute the behavior to earn reinforcement. For example, touching the cardia mobile. So one animal will see another one and then model that behavior. So again, sort of that modeling that we see happening there. And so they learn by watching another one do the behavior. Yeah, so that is definitely a benefit of having these group situations, this group learning. You guys are on it. Absolutely. These are great examples. Yeah, so these can be some really excellent benefits of having these group settings and group learning and behavior with these, obviously, these social animals. Oh, I love it. You guys are coming up with some great stuff here. This is excellent. And I love the parallels. I think, and that's what I found really fun in researching this, is that we see it in human behavior and animals. Soraya says group learning and group following can be tricky to differentiate, like shepherd animal, like sheep and ducks. Okay, and group following. Okay. Yeah, so, well, and I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of, intertwined, isn't it? Right? So, but you do make a good point, Soraya, because one of the things that can be challenging in the human world is that we see that sometimes people resent when people don't carry their weight in a group, if that makes sense. Like if somebody's contributing a lot and somebody else is just kind of, following, maybe, like you're saying, then people in the group who are doing a lot of work and the ones that aren't doing the work get a little bit upset. So maybe that relates there. Overcoming fear can be a benefit too. I use it with my parrots. I have them watch me train. So it sounds maybe similar to what Cynthia was saying with the donkeys. That so that observing, that modeling behavior can help and provide that support and that comfort of the group, seeing what the group is doing. Maybe that ties in there. That reminds me of group projects in college. Exactly. Yeah. You know what? That is actually one of the papers that I read, was the whole study was about how teams in college work together on group projects, and the different aspects of that, and how the pros and the cons of it. So exactly. Or behavior or fleet behaviors or group feeding. Yeah. Actually, that's one of my examples in here for the animals, how some animals will work together to hunt, like our wild dogs here, or lions. And so I have some video clips there that we will look at, or even flocks that are foraging together, and herd animals. So we'll look at a few video clips of that. So those are really good examples of animals that are doing those behaviors as groups, but they also benefit individuals at the same time. So let's see, missed the first couple of minutes, so not sure if this is what you're looking for. Group might be required for combined strength to accomplish the task. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a good point. And I think that that might be a great example for some of these hunting behaviors, right? So like an individual hunting dog, African wild dog, might not be able to take down the prey item, but they might need all of them together to do that. So that's a good point. Yeah, excellent. These are great. You guys are coming up with some really good examples here. I was worried this topic would be challenging, but you guys are on it. Another that might be modeling, but comes to mind, are parents bringing live prey to offspring like foxes or cheetah. Yeah, so that they learn about the skills required to catch or work on their hunting skills with those live prey. Yeah, that's a really good example. Yeah, we've seen that. I remember there was a really good documentary about harpy eagles and how that they would purposely not take the monkeys that were near the nest because they wanted, so this was the theory, that they wanted the offspring to watch the behavior of the monkeys near the nest so that they would learn the behavior of the monkeys near the nest. That was the theory, at least. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Cultural behaviors like food search in parrots and elephants. Yeah, so practicing searching together for food. Yeah, where they work together. Yeah, who's it? Alan Rucroft was telling me that the whole behavior of walking long distances in elephants together as a herd is like a huge part of their social behavior, and all the interactions that they have together as they walk together searching for food is really, really important to their group structure. And Jordan says, cons would be sometimes training in a group setting up can impede the learner you're focusing on through displacement or disruption in case I bring a second trainer in so it can be remedied. So if another animal is causing problems. Yeah. Also bees and ants and their huge communication. Right. Oh yeah. You guys are getting all creative here on me. Related to strength, but also endurance or running an animal down. Yep. Yep. Yeah, so lots of cooperation going on in the animal world, isn't there? Incredible amount of cooperation. You guys are coming up with so many good examples. Oh, I'm loving this. All right, well, let me go into a little bit of, so this is some of the stuff that Jordan was mentioning about, like the college stuff. I'm going to go into something a little bit more technical that may relate more to human behavior. But I think bits and pieces of it we can pull out that might make us think about animal behavior too. This was used to describe like conditions that would be applied to working with groups of humans. Let me read Soraya's comment. I only need to teach on a colony of ant or bees so that they spread the news where to find the treat. Okay. Oh, teach one of a colony. I see. So Soraya says she only needs to teach one of the colony of the ant or bee, and then they spread the news to the others. That's very cool. I got it. Yeah, only one individual. Very cool. Isn't that cool that Soraya gets to train ants and bees? Very cool. All right, so let me transition to this one here. So this was from this article that I was mentioning that was looking at college students working in a group, and so this is a definition of a cooperative learning model that is used in higher education and universities, and they were saying that in group learning or cooperative learning that these elements really need to be there. And so one of the things they call these are, and again, these are their definitions, I'm just sharing with you, and of course, I'll give you this reference in in the thing that gets posted in Animal Training Fundamentals. So one is called positive interdependence, meaning that team members are obliged to rely on one another to achieve the goal. And if any team member fails to do their part, everyone sort of suffers. So we can kind of see that in the animal world too, I think. But again, we could apply this to it. They meant to apply it to a human model. But there's also individual accountability. So all people, our students in the group, are held accountable for doing their share of the work and for mastery of all the material to be learned. So there's still this individual accountability. So that's important too. And then there also needs to be, they called it face-to-face promotive interaction. And then although some of the group may be parceled out and done individually, some must be done together. Like group members must be interacting with one another and giving feedback and challenging each other with their conclusions, and perhaps most importantly, teaching and encouraging one another. So there must be this give and take, this learning going on in between the members. And then appropriate use of collaborative skills. Students are encouraged and helped to develop and practice trust building, leadership, decision-making, communications, and conflict management skills. And then group processing. So team members set group goals, periodically assess what they are doing well as a team, and identify changes that will make to function more effectively in the future. So cooperative learning is not simply a synonym for students working in a group. A learning exercise only qualifies as cooperative learning to the extent that these 5 listed elements are present. So they gave some structure to it all, and I think some of that we can really look at a little bit more deeply here in just a second here. And some more comments from Soraya. Bats also work in the same way with their colony dynamics. The species I have worked with fruit-eating insects. Hummingbirds also work with it in their group dynamics. So we got lots of animal examples, and actually I do have a few more here too. So some behaviors that I listed out. We see mobbing by birds, right? So we'll see. If a bird sees another bird that needs to be driven away, all the birds kind of come together to drive away those birds. We see protection of offspring. So you might have noticed, this is musk oxen that have encircled a baby together. So we'll see them working as a group to protect their offspring, even though it may not be the offspring of one specific, it's not the offspring of all those individuals, right? It's only a certain individual's or a pair's baby. We see cooperative hunting and wild dogs, lions, raccoons, otters, dolphins. All of us have probably seen those videos of elephants working together to rescue a stranded calf. Foraging together. We see animals that rest together, right? They pile on top of each other to sleep in the same pile. We also see interspecies interactions, right? So have you guys seen the videos of the dolphins and the fishermen that work together to catch fish together? It benefits both of them. I don't know that the dolphins care that it's helping the fishermen, but it helps the dolphins. Certainly we see falconers who train dogs and falcons to work together. So there can be benefits for both of them. So I have a few little video clips we can have some fun looking at. So if you don't like seeing, animals hunting other animals, I'm going to show a little bit of a lion hunt here. So I'm just going to give you a little heads up for those of you that don't want to see So I'm going to play that video now. So if you don't like seeing this, I'm just going to give you that heads up. So here's a little bit of a lion hunting zebra.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Why?
Oh my God! She's got one.
And then how about this one? What about our colony nesters? Remember our Quakers that now I just have these two on this nest here, but I think they're a pretty interesting example because, Quakers, they're individuals with their little nest, but they make a huge nest with many different pairs all together in the colony. But there's a benefit to being in a colony, right? But at the same time, they're still kind of acting as individuals. So I think that one's kind of cool. And then of course, we talked a lot about already about animals foraging together in groups. So again, there's that benefit of having multiple animals together foraging at the same time. So, we've got many animals that can be alert for any kind of activity and of predators and vocalize if somebody notices a predator, and then everybody can take off at the same time. And, and then there's too many animals to focus on for the predator. So, the odds of catching somebody are reduced, right? So we've got that. And then I've got an example of our mobbing, although I only have one little bird mobbing this poor secretary bird in this video. It was the other mobbing video I have is not as great, so I just had to share this one. And then I did want to share, just because I love this video, and I think it would be just such a good one for nonlinear contingency analysis, our goats in Portugal. Yeah, and people are talking about birds exchanging nest protection and hunting and taking turns like flamingos. So many animals that have group dynamics have group learning. I think so, yeah, because and I do think it's, they are learning from each other. I mean, when I look at that goat video, I've always wanted to do the nonlinear contingency analysis on that, because they do learn from each other. They learn, like you can see there, oh, it's time to go this way. So, it's like, oh, I see his behavior, so I'm supposed to go that way. And, maybe they're going to show him where the next good food item is, or I'm supposed to follow the shepherd, or the dogs tell me go. I mean, there's so many contingencies going on. There's so much learning going on there. And then what's the last one I have here? Just the sleeping together in a group. There's so many benefits to that, whether it's the warmth or the protection or the, and we see a lot of animals that do that, right? I even think about our dogs sleeping on our beds with us, or sleeping together in little groups. So lots of different things going on there. So let's get into this a little bit deeper. So I think about a group of learners as kind of a part of an antecedent condition, right? Oh, and sea lions, yeah, sea lions, Annetta says, sleeping on a pile together on their murmurations. Oh my God, yeah, murmurations of birds. That's a really good example. And again, that big giant confusing blob of birds that are changing their direction based on the bird next to. I mean, that's so complex. I can't imagine picking that apart. Wow, yeah, it's amazing. So again, I think of a group of learners as part of an antecedent condition that occasions some target behavior. And there would be so many complexities and contingencies to a group of learners and their interactions. And so, you could be picking apart so many different bits and pieces to it. But some things we have to think about is, are those learners armed with the same conditions? Do they have equal access to resources? Do they have equal skill sets and competencies? I can never say that word. Competencies. I don't even know if I spelled it right. To reach desired outcomes, And so some of you mentioned that with some of the animals that you're working with, like some of them maybe haven't learned the same skill sets yet, or they're really experienced, and so we have to keep that in mind. And then we also have to think about how do learners respond to other learners, and have we set them up to respond well? I think Jordan was mentioning how sometimes there can be competition between some of the primates, and so how do we teach them an appropriate way to interact towards another primate under certain conditions? And sometimes that has to be part of our training sessions. But same with human learners, right? So are these interactions supportive? Are they competitive? And then we can also think about what are the intrinsic reinforcers available. So obviously, like for a little Quaker, there's, building that nest for itself is reinforcing in itself. And then maybe for that primate that isn't really wanting to let that other animal participate, we have to use a contrived reinforcer to teach it, there's value in you sitting over here right now and letting this other guy participate. So maybe we're piling on the reinforcement to say, it's okay. Or maybe we try to find the functional reinforcer and say, I'm going to move this guy away from you because maybe he thinks it's aversive. And so we're going to give you a little distance from that guy so that you're comfortable with him. And then we gradually teach him that him sitting closer is an okay thing. So we might have to be looking at those intrinsic reinforcers, those contrived reinforcers, to start making this work for our participants in these group settings. So what are some other pros and cons of working together? So we might see increased performance, right? Sometimes competition can evoke more responding in our animals. Sometimes they're like, well, I think about vultures, when they're at a carcass and how they get more like, well, I want that thing. So suddenly we get more participation. But then again, as you guys were mentioning, that sometimes the support of the group makes it more likely that the animal will participate. Oh, everybody else is doing it. Oh, I feel more comfortable now. My gang is here. And so I think sometimes for people, we get new relationships, right? That sort of we get these new bonds with people that make us feel like, these are my people. I'm developing good interactions with these people that I'm finding reinforcing. And so I'm happy to participate with them. And again, we've talked about this several times now, that this potential for increased learning, we modeling learning from others, learning by teaching others. And so that is a really cool opportunity, I think, with the group setting. And again, this one was a really good one that Cynthia mentioned right in the beginning, is that potential for increased creativity and generativity, basically exposure to novel stimuli. We have this diverse, challenging social environment, so we get to broaden our skills and knowledge, so that creativity can really come out. And I think those of you that are participating in the behavior challenge, we're only on our day one supposedly, but already so many people have posted some really cool ideas that are really inspiring. So we're already seeing a lot of creativity coming out just by having a lot of people participating. So, but there's also potential for decreased behavior, and that we have to be aware of as well. So sometimes there can be too much competition. So for that, maybe that individual that is maybe still learning, they might feel like, oh, this is too overwhelming. Like the ones that are really excelling are making me feel like I'm not up to par, and I can't compete. And so if the expectation for the individual from the group is too high, then maybe then they start to feel like I can't meet those expectations. And so that starts to make participation even less. And maybe the resources the group is supplying are insufficient to meet the needs of that individual. And so they may need more one-on-one attention than the group is supplying in order for them to be successful. And then again, we talked about maybe there's resentment from others if there's somebody in the group that's not carrying their weight, and it could be because they're not able to. They may not have what they need to be able to participate. So we have some comments here. And in the herd animals, if one is maybe leaving, then the others can follow, so that can be a con. And Chris says frustration from not having the skill or capability. It would be frustrating if I had to work with Spanish-speaking people since you can't speak Spanish. So like if there was a communication barrier because all the resources weren't there to, so you would feel left out if you were in a group where you didn't have the skill set to participate because everybody else had this certain skill set, but you didn't have that skill set. Yeah, I could see that for sure. That ties in with what we're saying here. Yeah. So and it's kind of like saying, like, if you had a bunch of like really experienced animal trainers who were put together, and then there was a person who was brand new to training put in that group. So if you didn't and then the people that are really experienced are just off like a rocket, and the person who has no experience is left behind, they're going to feel like I can't even play with this group, so that was one of the things in the article that I was reading, is that they were saying if you put groups of people together, that it's better to have a mix of people with a variety of skill levels as opposed to like a whole bunch of people that are really skilled and a whole bunch of people that are not skilled. It's better to have like a balance, so that everybody is kind of working together with each other, and sharing, people with some skills are still growing, and people who have a lot of skills are trying to teach, as opposed to all really, skilled and all really still learning. The expectation point was relatable for me. Some of our learners pick up on things quicker than others while training next to a learner who takes longer. And Mary's saying if lacking food, one eaglet may kick out a weaker eaglet. Yeah, and that can happen too. Yeah. So and I think, part of, for me, what was making me think about this is, some of our, because we are doing this behavior challenge, but in general, and part of it is working in a Facebook group, but in general, we see this in Facebook groups, right? Because a lot of them are set up to sort of be learning environments, yet are the parameters set, right, to really help them be successful or not. So that's a really important thing that we want to look at. And here was a really interesting study. Why we sometimes hate the good guy. There's actually this researcher at Guelph in Canada, Berkeley, and his studies show that it can be tempting to punish the performance of those that excel, because it can help reduce the gap of those who excel and those who are struggling. So think about it. The one who is not doing so well would start to resent the ones that are succeeding, because they are maybe not set up to come up to the level of the others that are doing so well. So that's where it comes back to being, to it being important to make sure that the ones that maybe haven't been armed with the resources are getting the resources they need to succeed. So this comes back to, what are some of the things that we could do to maybe provide some support for those that. Oh, and Chris says, "Oh, I know that feeling." Oh, Chris, I hope not. I don't want anyone to feel that way. So I think some things that can really help is to provide some, criteria from the beginning for what participation might look like, what are communications going to look like, and also what are the expectations, or what's the anticipated outcomes or goals, and reinforce that throughout group participation. And also trying to make it easy to find the resources that contribute to group learning and building competency. And also, I think sort of kind of the difference in a Facebook group is that it's different than maybe in an academic setting where, there's like, really high expectations and maybe people are working towards, degrees and certifications and things like that. Generally in a Facebook group, it's a little bit less rigorous, and it's more about maybe having some fun or maybe a little bit of advice or something like that. I know in like one of our Facebook groups, not so much the challenge here, we try to make it really, really clear that this is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need a professional service, here's our recommendations for professional services. And so we make that really, really clear. We have it really clear in our rules about certain things. Again, we want to provide and make it easy to find the resources that contribute to group learning and building competency. And again, throughout that, reinforce the appropriate communications and participation. And then hopefully you model that, right? Model that appropriate communication. And then also remove communications that do not meet that criteria. And then you can provide feedback. And so one of the things we do, and Mary knows about this in our one group. So if we already have a rule that, again, it can be worded very nicely, that again, we've provided at the onset when people join the group, that states what our criteria is. If it's already established, people have read that. And again, we also have it in a post that's pinned to the top. If somebody makes a statement that is against those rules and that criteria, it's not so hard to remove that communication and then just provide feedback by referring them to that rule or that pinned post. And then when that communication is provided, it's just information. It's not being critical. It's not being judgmental. It's just information. And that way it doesn't have to be sort of, anything offensive or anything like that. It's just information. And actually, as a consultant, that's a lot of how I think of when I'm giving feedback to somebody when we're training, whether it's good information or information to change, whatever they're doing with their, their mechanics or their delivery stuff. I just think of it as information. It's not saying, that's bad. I'm just saying, oh, well, do this differently and you'll get the results you want. That's the way I think of it. And then again, if a learner needs direct one-on-one help, it's important to provide that so that learner gets more of the information they need, kind of like you guys were describing with some of the animals that you were working with. And then, of course, an important part of this, too, is we've got to celebrate and reinforce achievements, not only for the group, but also on the individual level. So if we are including all of that in our process, then hopefully we're going to get to the kind of group participation that we would like to see. And so I kind of feel like, and I don't know if Mary would agree or not, I kind of feel like this is what we try to provide in one of our Facebook groups that we have going on, so that we get the kind of group participation that we want to the best of our ability with a Facebook group, which is a little different than actually, being in a classroom and having a group of people working as a team on a specific project towards a specific goal. But I do think it kind of helps us a little bit there. So let's see. And obviously with our challenge, it's and Lindsay's here too. She says, "Ha!" She's one of our moderators too. "Ha! We certainly try at least. I think it's mostly successful." Yeah, and it's obviously a little bit different because everybody comes in as an individual with their own specific goal, and then what happens is people, our moderators tend to respond first because they approve the posts, and then they have the first comments, and then other people are able to comment after that. But again, we're trying to provide some structure to how those responses are are added to that thread. But it's a little different than, like I said, than like having a project where everybody has a goal that they're working towards. And then, of course, with our Facebook challenge right now on the Train the Open Mouth behavior, it's also kind of, it's a group learning setting, but everybody has their own individual goal of working towards a similar behavior, and then everybody is sort of learning from everybody's participation, watching other people work towards the same behavior goal, maybe getting ideas from other people and what they're doing as they work towards that same behavior goal. And again, everybody is at a different starting point because they've got different species that have different experiences with animal training. They're at different levels. Some species are more inclined to hold an object in their mouth than another species, so that has them at a different starting point than other people. And obviously everybody has different experiences with training, so we've got that as a different starting point. And then those who have signed up for the challenge know that I've provided resources, hopefully to help guide people through the process, but everybody's going to apply that shaping plan slightly differently based on their animal and the learning history of the animal and the learning history of the person doing the training, and the species that they're working with. So it's really fun and interesting applying this information in that particular setting as well. So it's a little different than the other Facebook group where people come in with their own specific behavior challenge that they're trying to address. So we're all kind of in the challenge, we're all working towards a similar behavior goal and sharing our experiences. So it's really interesting. Obviously, as you can tell, that was the inspiration for this particular topic, sort of looking at how group learning works and the process, and if it's if there's things we can do to make it more successful for everybody. Lindsay says, I'm not caught up on it yet, but as I've been on a trip, but the challenge seems so fun and exciting so far. People are rocking it. Yeah, I have to admit, I like I said, I did post a comment in the challenge that I've been grinning ear to ear watching people's progress so far, and literally we just started. We've just started just the other day. So to see what people are accomplishing so far has been really cool, and their creativity and the variety of species. So it's been pretty inspiring. So we'll definitely do more challenges. So if you weren't able to get in on this one, just keep your eyes open for more announcements in the future. We'll definitely do some more of these, because I'm like really blown away by how fun it's been, and the whole process in general. So very cool. I'm excited about it. Like I said, this was the whole setting it up was, I think the hardest part was figuring out the whole process and getting it all set up. And now that I've, it's not over yet, but I think I've got the hang of it all for the most part. And, I think worked out most of the kinks. We'll see, there's more to go, but if we get it all solid and, can get into the routine of it all, then we'll try to do more of these and have some more fun with it. So I appreciate y'all, going through it with me, and we'll keep it going. We've got a live Q&A later on today for those of you that are participating, and we'll see how that goes. So, okay, moving on. Gosh, guys, this might be a short one today. I think we're gonna take it to the recap. So obviously, learning with a group is not a novel idea, but in order to get desired outcomes, it's helpful to explore what it means to help make group learning successful. Even though there may be an overall group goal, individuals still count, as always. Therefore, it can be helpful to evaluate the antecedent conditions that can occasion the desired responses in the group setting, and what outcomes are anticipated for participation on the individual level. Interactions amongst group members can lead to reinforcement or punishment, depending on a variety of factors, so monitoring these interactions may be important. So it's really important to provide clear guidelines and expectations up front, so which can be important for human learners working in group settings. It might be a little tougher to do that for the animals, I guess. Group learning can offer benefits. However, some may still need to be directed to resources that provide individualized attention to fully realize goals. And Mary's asking, when did the challenge start? Well, to be honest, it kind of started a few days ago because I had to send out an email with information about prepping your materials before the weekend, so people got their materials together. And then what I have been doing is I sent out, even though today is like the first day of the live Q&A, I sent out the lesson yesterday because I wanted to give people some time to train before the Q&A starts at 1 o'clock today. And so I'm kind of sending the lesson a day in advance so that people have time to train. And then each day, so Monday through Friday this week, we do a live Q&A at 1. And so technically people have Monday through Friday to train, and so we'll kind of wrap it all up on Friday, and then we'll, I think you'll get a follow-up email on Saturday, but yeah, so yeah, it's, it's a little more than a week, but again, we'll do some others. I've already got some behaviors in mind for the next one, so don't worry, there'll be more. This is just the first one. But if you want to learn more about working with some of the, group learning and things like that, and some of the things we talked about today, we did talk about creativity, and we do have a live stream on creativity, which was a really good one. So you should look for that one. And then we also had a live stream on considerations when training multiple animals, and that one is more about how to manage working, that's more about practical application about how to manage working with groups of animals. And so that addresses some of the things Jordan was talking about. So the Q&A is going to be in the live stream, or in the, the live stream is going to be in the Facebook group. So you'll probably get a pop-up on Facebook when you are, if you're on Facebook at 1 o'clock, Central Time. So it's going to be in about an hour from now, about an hour and 15 minutes from now. Yeah. So so you had to sign up for the challenge to get the to be in the email sequence for that. It didn't just go out to anybody. So, you have to sign up for the challenge for that. Okay. And other things coming up. I'll be at ABMA AMATA conference. So that's an Animal Behavior Management Alliance conference, and International Marine Animal Trainers Association conference. It's a joint conference that's going to be on Thursday, March 9th is when I'm speaking at 2:30 p.m. for anybody that's in Atlanta, if anybody's going to be there. And then just a reminder, this is next week. So next Monday, we won't be doing a live stream. We'll be doing our goats presentation. So members, just send me a message, or you can either send me an email, respond to one of the emails you get from me, or you can send a message through the site. If you're not a member, we do have an a la carte option. Just go to atfgoats.com and you can attend that. And then the next goats presentation is going to be from Christopher Varnon on what we can learn from training cockroaches. And again, same procedure if you want to sign up for that one. And that one is on March 20th. And then here is our citation for this particular presentation, this particular live stream. And then a reminder that tomorrow we have a tower talk. So members who want to join us to discuss anything, if you want to discuss this, if you want to discuss what we talked about today, if you want to talk more about the behavior challenge, we can talk more about your training there as well. And that is an option there. And then if you're not a member, you can certainly still join us. This is how you join us. We have several membership options there. So just go to animaltrainingfundamentals.com. And I see a whole bunch of questions. So let me get to these. Let's see. So Mary says she did join. Okay. Well, I will follow up with that after I get off of here. First thing I would say is check your spam folder. Okay. And and Soraya says there's a link in the email. And Mary, you can also log in to to animaltrainingfundamentals.com, and you should be able to access the lessons as well. And Lindsay's excited. Okay. All right. Okay. So Soraya's helping Mary out there. Okay. And Gail says, thank you. And Annetta says, so much going on here. I know. Doing a lot of things this week is very busy times, because I've got several conferences coming up at the same time. And, yeah, so trying, and we're doing the challenge. Oh my gosh. And I'm trying to prepare the next challenge before I go to these conferences. So I'm trying to get as much happening for you as I possibly can right now. So, very busy times. But you know what? It's all good. You know, we're trying to be, as productive as possible and learn a whole bunch of things at the same time. But, so I'm grateful we've got a couple goats presentations coming up, because I need a little time. Okay, guys. So I will make sure we check on the challenge stuff here. And for those of you that are gonna are in the challenge, I'll see you at 1:00 on Facebook for the live Q&A. And so we'll answer your questions, further questions about training that open mouth behavior, and anyone who's having some challenges moving forward, or just has some questions in general. So, all right, I think we get to end a little bit early today, but that's probably okay, because we're focused on some other things. All right, great. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it, and we will talk to you again soon. Oh, and Lindsay said, thanks for having these. It's always nice to be able to listen in while also not prepping prepping aviary bird diets. All right, multitasking. I hear you. All right, guys. See you soon. Take care.